reason I thought it was from the plant is because DOE come to my house and they kept asking me questions over and over, the same questions. And I had told my husband, and I said, you know what? I said, I know something that I don't know. I said, because they keep asking me questions about that oil. And finally, I think they were satisfied that I didn't know that the oil was radioactive, so they left.
Gotcha.
And so I never did return back to work, and I was on leave of absence until 1987, or I think a 7-year period. And when you're on leave of absence, you're supposed to be able to keep your seniority. Well, they sent me to a doctor here in Portsmouth named Dr. George Ishman, but they wouldn't pay him to examine me. And so he said there's no reason why I couldn't go back to work because he couldn't find nothing wrong with me because they wouldn't pay him to test me. And so I lost my seniority, I lost my job, I lost my benefits. And I'm still sick. I winded up having brilliant disease, and the government's paid for that. I found out that I had these 2 nodules, and they found that in the thing that she was talking about, her mother going out and getting in this machine. And they're finding a lot of workers had those nodules, and those nodules are related to brilliant disease, but they're not telling the workers. And so I winded up with brilliant disease, and before all this happened, I winded up getting my records locked up in Washington, D.C. twice.
Really?
Yeah.
So what do you mean by that?
They locked up my medical records, and then
It was their headquarters in D.C.? Okay.
And then this lady, they unlocked them and they gave it to people to look at our records, and she found enough evidence that she said they had this much records and they threw them on their desk and said that me and a girl from Hanford, Gay Oakesby, we were typical nuts. And so she went through my medical records and she calls me up and she said, Vina, she said, I'm sending you a FedEx tonight and I want you to sign it and get it back tomorrow. And I said, really, Florence, what's going on? She said, I checked your records and you do have a serious complaint and health issues that needs to be addressed. So I signed the papers and I told my husband, I said, that woman's going to get fired. He said, why do you say that for? I said, she actually read my medical records. And she even wrote me up an affidavit. I have her report. And so I waited 2 weeks, never heard back. And I called headquarters to talk to her, and they said, well, she no longer works there.
No way. You knew it, yeah.
So it was another couple of years. And I worked on the compensation bill with Ted Strickland and them because I have actual records that we've been reprocessing reactor fuel that had plutonium in it. And none of us were ever told. So they've been doing that since the 50s. So that's where the plutonium, the neptunium, americia, all these daughter projects come from. And so one day I read in the paper about off-site contamination of PCB oil and PCB oils, and they had filed a lawsuit. So I went to that meeting and told the residents I was concerned because that's what I worked in, and they told us to dump it down the drains. And so those drains went to Little Beaver Creek, Big Beaver Creek, Scioto River, to the Ohio River, all the way to the Mississippi. So I started looking at documents. I went to courthouses, I went to people's homes, I went to workers, I went out of town, and I've collected quite a few documents. And then when I went to the community meeting that they had, they wanted to make me president of the group. So that's how I got involved with Portsmouth Piketon Residents for Environmental Safety and Security, and that was probably 1989. And so I've been their spokesperson. And of course they whittle down, they don't come out, because if you come out, then they harass you. And so now it's getting so big that they can't harass people anymore. Because it's public knowledge, because I put documents out there. I went to the EPA office. That's when I first found out they had Little Beaver Creek was contaminated. And they knew it, but they don't tell anybody. They still haven't posted signs, even though we've asked for them to post the signs. There's no signs. Dr. Ketter's been here. He's tested Little Beaver Creek. He's found it off-site. We have Joe Mangano, who's done a health study, and we have the highest rate of cancer in the state of Ohio, and 87% national here.
Yeah.
And what are they doing about it? Nothing.
Yeah.
They don't care. I hear there's going to be another big meeting April the 5th.
Okay.
But I don't know for sure any details about it. But we've asked them to come out. All this time we've asked them to come out and tell us the truth, because you know we wanted to work with them, and we can't help them if they don't tell the truth. Well, they don't intend to tell them the truth. So they went down and they fixed that creek, Little Beaver Creek. They dredged it out, and they put rocks here, and they put new dirt up top. And the weird thing about it is somebody from New York owns that, Gordon.
Oh, okay.
On this side of the creek. On this side of the creek, Vandemore, somebody owns the other side of it.
Okay.
And now there's a gate. After all these years, there's a gate. But on this side, the left side, you can walk right down there, and there's a trailer, maybe a block away, and people fish in there, they swim in there, and they still haven't done anything.
Because they don't know. You probably don't know.
Well, and at one time, that little trailer park was on the EPA hot list. And of course, we get all of our newspaper articles from other people. We don't get it here. They don't tell you nothing here.
Really?
And just here in the last few years, they started doing media coverage.
Yeah.
And so that was on the hot list, and come to find out, they were drinking well water there that was contaminated. And they had 2 wells, so they switched over to the other well. I met, I can't tell you how many people that I've talked to, and that are sick, and they're not getting, the community's not getting any help whatsoever.
No. Yeah.
So we pushed for the workers' bill and got Ted Strickland, and they found out that we did have plutonium at the site, and for some reason we became a spatial exposure cohort. We're the only site, the whole site is a SEC site, so that tells you something there. And so we were able to get the workers their compensation, and now we're working on the RECA bill, which is the Radiation and Exposure Compensation Act, and that's for the community.